It's not working yet, Eric.
Mrs. O'Brien? Mrs. Pecklick? Yes. Mr. Richardson? Greg Bader? Yes. Justin Kern? We have a form.
Thank you. If you could observe the exit signs in this room, to the rear and to the side, please stand to join in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is actually on top of the vending machine. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have an agenda check for anything? No? Okay, we're all set. Okay. Bill Speck will be running the public agenda items. Thank you.
Good evening. Quick introduction and then we'll get right to the questions. Most of you know me. My name is Bill Speck, District Superintendent at the Uganda BOCES. As part of my role there is to work with all the component school districts to meet the challenges that we all face. I am going to be a facilitator today of the Public's to be heard comment section. Just to remind everybody, I am a representative of the Commission of Education. If you have questions that you would like to ask me at any time outside of this meeting, please contact me and you can get a hold of me at the BOCES. I'd be happy to sit and talk with anybody about current situations and other things that you may have of interest. Tonight, we're going to make sure that everybody's aware that Jordan-Elbridge has a code of conduct. If you're not aware, basically the code of conduct requires all people in the building, students, parents, spectators, participants tonight, to make sure that you abide by civil behavior and the decorum necessary to get through our meeting. So with that reminder, we can start the public session. I have a Gabe Rossetti signed up first. Please keep your comments, if you can, to 5 minutes out of respect for the meeting time, and also agenda topic only.
Thank you, President Alley and board members. I'd just like a clarification on the appeals process. I read in the paper that there was an appeal on the 27th, a notice of appeal, and then on the 2nd, there was a vote to go ahead with the appeal. I was wondering how the attorney could file a notice of appeal without the board approving an appeal.
The attorney did call the district office and explained that because of the timeliness in the situation, that he felt that he should act in the district's best interest, and he would ask for ratification of that after the fact.
So it's my understanding you talked to, or someone talked to the attorney, and his opinion was that with the time restraint, he had to file the notice to be at a time.
That's accurate, yes.
For the board's information, you don't listen to an attorney's opinion. An opinion is not based, it doesn't need any basis. When you have a professional, you ask for his professional opinion. You do not ask for his advice or his opinion, you ask for his advice. And you ask for his professional advice, as well as the superintendent, if you have actuaries, and if you have any other professional that you handle. They do not run the board meetings.
We did that.
You did what?
We were advised by multiple attorneys.
I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
We were advised by multiple attorneys.
You advised, but you went by his opinion to file that, in fact, the time limit. And we have an attorney that's telling you the time limit is running down. there is time restraints, yes, I understand on filing. But for an attorney to wait for the last minute to come to the board to say we've got to file now or it'll be too late, I really have a problem with a professional putting that burden on this board. You're taking a beating because the professionals are giving their opinion. And if you're not aware of it, you listen to their opinions. That's not what they're there for. They are there for their professional advice to you when you ask for it, not for them to give it. And if you want to check any law books, I'm no lawyer, but I've been around a long time, and I've dealt with it. The $7,500 also in the fee that supposedly is going to cost for this appeal, is that on top of the retainer that they have received?
No.
That is the amount that he has given. Is that his opinion or his professional decision? Is that his opinion or is that his professional advice that it will not take any more money?
He said a lot of the work had already been done prior to that for the one particular appeal.
If this board did not approve prior to January 27th, I would say that you are not obligated to pay him one penny until it was approved February 2nd. He went ahead and did something without this board's approval. Unless you voted on it before the 2nd to let him file a notice of claim.
Thank you, sir.
No. I have another. With the sheriffs that are here attending the meeting, are they paid?
I'd like to explain that a little bit later on in the agenda section piece. Yes, they are paid, and I'd like to explain that later on.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Maureen Doyle.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Doyle, and I am a resident of the Jordan-Elbridge Central School District. I will speak briefly about the petition a group of fiscally responsible Jordan-Elbridge Central School District residents submitted to the board clerk yesterday morning, and there are budget items included in here. General Counsel for the New York State School Boards Association said there is, and I quote, "There is no authority in the law that I am aware of that would require a Board of Education to put these propositions up for vote of the public," end of quote. I agree. But I do not agree when he goes on to say, and I quote, "Nor would there be authority on the part of the board to put these matters up for a vote, even if the board itself wished to do so," end of quote. It is one thing to say that the board is not compelled to call a special district meeting. It is quite another to say that they do not have the power to call the meeting in response to the will of the people, as reflected in a written petition. He also said the only time a community can be heard is when they vote for or against the school district budget. That is an outright lie. The budget that we all voted on last time has been bludgeoned and battered, and so our vote has already proven to be of little merit with this board. If we look deeper at his words, it means that no matter how far astray from all common sense and community good that a school board goes, district residents are obligated to sit idly by until the next budget vote. We offer that this advice is as effective as any that the board has paid for and is not in the best interest of the district. How many lawyers does the Jordan-Elbridge Central School District have now? The in-house school district attorney, the BOCE's attorney, and now the New York State School Board Association attorney. And at what cost? Budgeted or not? There is no question that the commissioner frowns on advisory votes, and there are a number of commissioner opinions that reach that conclusion. The assumption supporting these decisions is that the board will do the job they are elected to do. However, I doubt that even the commissioner would try to outlaw the historic right of the people to petition their government. There is simply no model for what is happening at Jordan-Elbridge. One of the board's favorite defenses, in addition to, if you only knew what we knew defense, is that the people criticizing the board are a rogue minority that do not truly reflect the will of the school community. There is no better way to determine if that claim is right or wrong than to submit the issue to the electorate. All of the propositions are non-binding. Getting the public input is practiced at every level of government. Why can't the residents of the Jordan-Elbridge Central School District have a voice? Thank you.
Mrs. Rowan, I'd like to clarify something. We did not pay Jay Verona for his decisions or his comments.
I'm sorry, we can't hear.
The co-standard contacted him for that opinion. We did not.
Okay, thank you for adding that.
Next, we have a Suzanne Badman.
Good evening. I'm here tonight because the last meeting I attended, I listened to 2 hours of public opinion, and the vote came up, and there wasn't even a blink in the eye of this whole table about Agenda Item 8. And Agenda Item 9, only one person had the nerve to stand up against this board that's obviously so strong and controlling that no one can have an individual opinion. So I laughed right after that vote because I was so disgusted. I felt like you spit in the face of this community, each and every one of you. You are not interested in what the community says. You don't care what the community says. And all the patronizing remarks that come from this board show it. We'll listen to you for 2 hours, and then we'll do exactly what you're all asking us not to do. And if you truly, truly cared about what the community said, maybe you'd have a vote to see what the community says. Because all along, all I've heard is, you people out here in this audience are the minority. This is the minority, according to you. Well, now we have a petition, and we're asking you to actually get a true idea of what the community wants. I don't know what's holding you back, except lawyers protecting yourself. So I have something else to say. All right. So people that need security. Security is defined as a degree of protection against danger, damage, loss, and criminal activity. Which of those are you afraid of? Maybe the community should be more afraid of you than you are of us. Because as far as I've seen, we're now suffering financial damage. We're suffering loss. And I consider some of the activity has been criminal over the last several months. When you as a board do not follow basic rules of meeting activity and then go and make appeals. I had a lot of confidence in you when this all started, and that is turned to tide last week when you filed the appeals. Because all along I kept hoping and hoping that some goodness would come out of this board. And I'm not seeing that. I'm just not seeing that. People that surround themselves with lawyers, security, law enforcement, have to join new organizations for $10,000 at the cost of this community so you can get more lawyers' opinions. The opinions of the lawyers you're getting are educational professionals that know the educational law inside and out, but who are they really protecting? They're no longer protecting this community. I don't think this is in the best interest of the community, and I think the security and the lawyers and all these people you're surrounding yourselves with are actually in the best interest of a board that's gone astray. You have your own ideas, you have your own agendas, and I'm very sad to see that happen. So I have a quote, and I don't know that you'll even respond to this because I truly believe that each one of you feel that you're very right. And that's actually the scariest part to me. I see you up there and you all feel that this is the right thing to do for this community. But what is morally right is what you feel good after. And what is immoral is what you feel bad after. And that's from Ernest Hemingway. And I don't feel good when I leave here at night because I feel like my words don't have any impact on a group of people that I'm stuck with at this point. So I'm sorry. I hope that you'll consider the community and the community vote.
Mr. Gary Goodrich.
I'd like to just clarify something. On the broader membership to the New York State School Boards, the reason for that is that this is not working tonight. I don't know what's wrong. The reason why we decided to join our membership to the New York State School Boards is because 3 of us well, 2 definitely are not running for the school board again, and possibly a 3rd. That would leave a school board of relatively new school board members who would require training. In previous meetings for the past few years, Mrs. Osborne and several other community members have made pointed remarks as to what type of continuing education the board has received. New York State School Boards provides a lot of continuing education for school boards so that, especially for new members that are coming on, that was why we did that. We did not get it for the legal advice or hire New York State School Boards for the lawyer. It was to help train this board to function the best that they can. Thank you.
That's not new either. We've been on to the New York State School Board.
We've done it off and on, and we also go to their conferences, which are extremely beneficial. And there have been times that 6 and 8 of us have gone.
All been in New York
They have
City the
been-
last 3 years, and it's just not possible.
Right. Right. So, but there's a discounted price for members.
As any professional organization.
Right. And we have been members on and off over the years.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to be short and sweet tonight. I won't give you like I usually do. I just have questions that I'll give you. One of the questions dates back quite a while that I'm just, as of to date, I don't know if we've ever gotten clarification. I don't know if you can help me with. The state investigation that happened against Janice Shu, was that closed out, and do we have any information or results from that investigation?
That is posted on the New York State website from what I've been told.
Which one?
I don't know. Right off the top of my head, I can't tell you. I just know that had been, the commissioner's ruling had been posted. I don't know where to look for it or where to tell you to look. I don't know that, but
You guys don't know the results of it, or
yes, we do know the results of it, but it has been posted publicly.
can you tell me what you know, or is it?
Yes. The commissioner ruled that the request for a stay, the board was, I'm not saying this clearly enough, the board reappointed Janice Shu to a new position, and the commissioner found that that was okay for the board to do. Excuse me?
What?
Again, I can't get into personnel decisions, but the commissioner ruled that was a decision that the board that had made, that it was legal and it was fair.
Okay.
I don't know where it's posted. I was told it was.
Okay. Thank you. The other question I have is, what is the status of the forensics audit?
We have not received a full report yet on that. We should have one forthcoming.
Do you know? Did they give you like a date as to when they should be able to close up shop yet? Or okay, thank you. And maybe you're going to address this in the agenda, but what is the purpose of the change of title for the assistant superintendent of instruction?
Can I address that during the agenda time?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Last one I have is, I guess, comments about that. But my concern is that if we're redoing a title, my concern is that position here at Jordan-Elbridge is not under scrutiny for budget cutting. And maybe I'm not saying it right. Is that position and other administrative positions being scrutinized for cutting for the upcoming budget?
Well, first of all, you cannot cut the special education position. That's a very needed position within this district. So essentially, I'll explain it to you, but Ms. Gorton will be not just being, will serve in two roles, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and she will also be taking on the Committee for Special Education and the CSE Directorship. So she will be essentially doing two jobs now instead of one.
Okay, I certainly wasn't expecting cutting the special education,
No.
but the position of the Assistant Superintendent, as its title, are we looking at that position? I guess what I'm getting at is other school
Are we going to
districts.
maintain that position?
Yeah.
Dr. Zacher could probably
Yeah.
speak to that better. You want to speak to that? Just-
I had planned to address those issues when we do the overview of the budget. But we have and we continue to take a look at the administrative staffing in the district. We realize that certainly when we're looking at budget reductions, revenue reductions, we have to look at all areas of the budget. So one of the first things we looked at was the administrative staff. The first thing we looked at was to see if we could appropriately restructure the position of Assistant Superintendent for Instruction to include the responsibilities of CSE and CPSE Chair. So we're looking at essentially what we consider to be two full-time positions being squeezed into, if you will, one position with no increase in the compensation built into that at this point. So Ms. Gordon has taken over the responsibilities of the CSE, CPSE Chair. She will complete whatever responsibilities that she has time for and can adequately address under the area of Assistant Superintendent for Instruction. We are also looking at other changes in the administrative staffing, which I can address for you later when we talk about the budget overview.
Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to clarify one more thing is that I know Dr. Zacher has felt, and I don't know how much the board is in agreement, I think most of us are, is that the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, that position per se for a small district of our size, given the budget crisis that we're in, most likely cannot, maintain and afford just that particular position down the road.
That's wonderful.
Is that what you're trying
Absolutely.
to get at?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, guys. I'll just.
Next we have Kathy Ford.
Hello, my name is Kathy Ford. I've lived in the district for 17 years. I have 4 kids. 2 of them graduated. I got 2 going now.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the teachers, coaches, and other staff members at Jordan-Elbridge School District for teaching, coaching, and guiding my children. 2 of my children, like I said, have graduated. Both of them went off to college. We've had our difficult times through the teenage years, but thanks to the teachers, guidance counselors, coaches, and the principal, who was Mr. Zahner at the time, my children excelled. Mrs. Dominic was the superintendent then. My daughter graduated with a bachelor's degree in 3 years, magna cum laude. She told me her second year through, Mom, I always thought that I never learned a lot in school, but I was really lucky to go to Jordan-Elbridge because I knew more at the start of college than most of the other kids there. Now I have another child going to graduate next year. I'm concerned because of the actions of the board. I'd like to ask you to please stop spending money now that the school doesn't have and will not have. When I don't have the money, I have to tell my kids no. As a group that represents the community, as I represent my kids, you should really take a look at what you're spending. For example, hiring 1 deputy for $30 an hour. Then wanting to give them a raise already to $35 an hour. And now, you want 2 security officers or deputies. And I see today in the agenda that it hasn't even been approved yet, but there's two deputies out there. Who's paying them? Are they specifically here for you personally, or are they here for the community?
Is there more going on now here that we should know about? Are we safe as well? Or is it just to make the community feel intimidated? Are you requesting 2 deputies at $35 an hour? You're requesting 2 deputies at $35 an hour for each board member meeting. At this rate, the total could add up to over $80,000 a year. That's a pretty good part-time job. This district can't afford it. This money should be going to the children and the schools. If they're here to protect only you, or here to intimidate the community from which you have distanced yourself from, then this money should be paid by the board members themselves. Finally, I would like to say that I do not see a budget passing next year because of your unnecessary spending this year and your idea that the well never goes dry. Perhaps you plan to move out of the district in the near future. Well, I don't. And I do not want to pay for the hundreds of mistakes, as you said, because you're not learning from your mistakes. As I mentioned before, my son will be a senior next year. And it is not fair that he should have to suffer in his class because of the actions of this board, and the community does not support it. The state is not giving as much state aid, the property taxes have gone up, college tuition costs have gone up, and you still believe that this district has an unlimited amount of money to spend. You're not only hurting your targets with your actions or your personal agendas, but you continue to hurt the community and the children of this community. Finally, I'd like to pass out the article that was in the Sunday newspaper, 5 tips to make public meetings work. Please read it and keep it in your folders for future use. For the community, just a brief summary. It's listen first. Articulate the ground rules. Don't take it personally. Spread the wealth, which means maximize opportunities for full participation. People are more likely to act civilly if they know they don't need to resort to extraordinary measures to be heard. And capture, evaluate, and test. We have to have a plan. Thank you.
We have Thomas D. Renzo.
Good evening. I'm here for 2 reasons, a 16 and a 14-year-old boy that we look at every day that goes to this district. It's a sad time in our lives when there's always more people at the Board of Education meeting than there is at a JE sporting event. It is common sense that the current budget will be voted down, meaning there possibly could be no sports or band next year. Ms. Alley, you stated last meeting that the appeals process will only cost $7,500. How far will $7,500 go towards sports or the band? If your agenda is for the kids, then you must reevaluate the present agenda and see that the thousands of dollars that are being spent that certainly do not benefit the kids of this district. We spend our afternoons transporting the 2 boys from 6 different sporting teams that take up our whole year. It's a joy to watch them play, win or lose. Recently, we attended a wrestling match where 4 teams were present. Our boys from JE were the only ones that did not look like a team. No jackets, sweatshirts, t-shirts, etc. Kathy and I decided to personally spend $160 on Eagle Pride t-shirts from the sports boosters. We left the wrestling match, went right to the basketball game, dropped the money on the table. The next day, we gave it to the wrestling team. Now they look like a team. We donated not only to the sports boosters, but made the team look like a team. I don't say this for thanks for us or any of that. I say that for you people to go home and think of the kids. Think of what's important for once. Get back to what the basics are. Thank you.
Dana Atkinson. Susan Osborne.
Mary, I was excited to hear that after 2 years of asking about training,
that you recognize that. And I have questioned how you've spent your money, but I think $10,000 for the board to be trained would have been really good 2 years ago when I had requested that.
We've been doing training all along.
Okay. Also, when Gary asked you about the investigation, that was the quick investigation that you had talked about when we had asked about the investigation. You were discussing the appeal of the change of title. So I would like to know what happened with the results of the quick.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda? Okay.
We don't have that information in front of us.
Well, you did actually, because the quick was really
We don't have
looking
it in
at.
front of us right now.
No, I know, but I know. Hold on.
We actually had a public presentation at a board meeting on the clip.
And wasn't the clip about the middle school and it had nothing to do with the Elbridge Elementary School?
No, we talked about all of it.
I think it really focused on the middle school. But we don't have the paperwork, so we need to.
Well,
move
it was,
on. Okay. And what I originally was questioning was the CSE, CPSE chairperson, and then we also need to appoint a consultant at $43.24, who actually had the job before she resigned, and now she's back, I guess. So why do we have a well-paid assistant superintendent for instruction and CSE, which was 2 jobs, but originally it was 1. It was made into 2. Now it's going back to 1. And now why do we have to hire a consultant?
Obviously, the previous director of special education resigned, as you were aware, in January.
Right.
That person has worked very closely with the special education department and certainly knows those students and their needs extremely well. With the assumption of the responsibilities by Sue Gordon, she obviously doesn't have that level of understanding and expertise in terms of dealing with those individuals at this point. We wanted to make absolutely certain that students' needs were met as we go into the next budget year. We want to make sure that we're budgeting appropriate monies through BOCES, COSERS to take care of those students' needs. And we felt that that money was a wise investment.
we're looking at, it's a maximum of probably 15 hours.
Yeah. Prior to Beth Ross leaving, Beth Ross wasn't the one, she wasn't the case manager for all those students. Those students still have their case manager, the direct teacher that's in the classroom with them, and pull out, push in resource time. They're the ones that have the most knowledge about those students' needs, or they should. And so I would think that they're very professional and competent people, that they could let the assistant superintendent for instruction and CSE, CPSE chairperson without having to spend the 15 hours times 43.24. You've got really competent people educating our children, working with our children every day. We don't need to pay somebody who already left our district to come back in and sit in a meeting with those people that know more about the kid than the person who resigned, who is now the consultant. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Anthony Stroh.
2 things. One is on the approval of the minutes from the February 2nd meeting. The agenda that we had received out here, regarding the issue where Robin Bork was getting her increase in pay, our copies didn't include her job title. Was that on your copies but not on ours? So if that could be included on the official minutes when they are approved for February 2nd? So
I believe it was attached. We didn't have it on our order.
Okay, is it possible to be put on the minutes?
I can turn it back.
Okay. And second question is just, I know a few meetings ago they approved, there was actual board resolution to approve a purchasing clerk position. And I was just wondering, being that the budget is coming up, at this point you have, say like you have the treasurer position filled, you have a deputy treasurer position currently filled, and my understanding is that you have a purchasing clerk unfilled. I'm just wondering with the budget coming up, if for example, after everything is all done, and you come to and say we have to cut one position, and then to find out, well, it's the purchasing clerk that never was filled to begin with. Is it possible to find out with our budget that we did lay off people for the school year of 2010-11, exactly what positions are out there still unfilled, and to say that this way they're not part of, to say we're going to cut positions next year and then find out there are positions that weren't even used in 2010-11. So if that could be part of the budget discussion.
That would not save money if you not fill it.
Thank you.
So we have David Batter.
Will you discuss the effect of the change on agenda item 19 from interim athletic director to interim director of health, physical education and athletics? In my discussion, I'd like, the money difference, the quality,
There isn't a money difference. Go ahead, Ray.
the quality of candidates, future plans with this position. Why interim? We've known Hayner's leaving for 2 years now. And what will happen to this position if there are no extracurricular activities next year? And what effect will it have on the kids? Changing the wording of this position.
Changing the wording of the position from Director of Athletics to Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics.
Yes.
It should have appropriately been named at the last meeting. So this was to clarify that so that people would understand that position is still Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics.
Similar to what Mr. Hamer had. He had that position.
And that position is intended to run through June 30. And after that, that position was going to be rolled into, if you will, the position of associate principal at the high school.
And there is no salary change.
And there is no salary change with the change in this title.
Okay. Thank you.
That concludes the public comment.
Greg, would you like to do celebrations here? That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, to start celebrations today. This Thursday, the girls' basketball team has a game at home in the gymnasium. The season has been almost flawless, with Molly Horgan leading the team. She was just voted the December Athlete of the Month, and she looks to lead the team to another big win this Thursday night at 7 p.m. The boys wrestling program was rewarded the John R. Carl Sportsmanship Award at the Section 3 Championships this past weekend. Mitch Alpha wrestled his way to excellence last weekend by taking second place in the 112-pound weight class. He returns next year at the top of his class with self-expectations to win. So that's pretty exciting. Also, Sean Cooper was rewarded recognition by the National Football Foundation. At an honors dinner on January 30th, Sean was recognized for his scholarly achievements and his athletic dominance. For Sean's hard work, he was awarded a $500 scholarship to any university of his choosing. So, he's worth it all. The boys and girls indoor track state qualifiers are on February 26th at Colgate University this year. Jack Google, Steve Sonowski, Carlin Kumi, and myself will be competing in the 4x800 meter relay. Also competing will be Rachel Scott, Carrie Jo Ferrugia, Mackenzie Williams, and Brianna Burns in the 4x200 meter relay. So come out and support that.
How did you guys do at sections?
We won. The 4x8 team won. and the 4x2 team also won. So last but not least, the Susical the Musical, this year's musical production, will be showing on March 18th and 19th. Every year, Mrs. Debo and the kids put on a tremendous show, and I encourage everyone to get out and buy a ticket. And that concludes the celebrations.
Did you get the names of the other wrestlers that made it to sectionals? I think, was it Derek Cheney, Colin Aniela, Joe Mills?
Joe Mills and Mitch Cooper also made it, but Mitch was put out by an injury.
Okay. Are we missing anybody on that list? Is Trevor Pettit, was he one? Maybe?
Yeah, Trevor, yeah, that's right. And I think that's it.
All right, great, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Zach's got some things actually.
I was asked by Terry Lawless and David Schaefer, principal at the Ramsdale School, to extend a big congratulations to 5 of our Ramsdale students on honorable mention in the post-standard essay and cartoon contest for Name Calling Week. And the following students will be recognized by the post-standard in March: Abigail Carlick, 5th grade; Jack Cavallaro, 6th grade; Ashley Kent, 6th grade; Abby McGinn, 6th grade; and Shelby Howell, 8th grade. And Mr. Schaefer suggested that we give our congratulations to all of the students as well as the teachers who helped encourage them in giving this contest a try. Thank you.
I'd like to have a motion, please, for approval of the February 2nd minutes. Was that Brian and Connie? Any discussion? Brian and Connie. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Okay, we've done our celebrations. Moving on to presentations. Capital project update. Anything for there? Okay, Mike.
How's everybody tonight? I want to start with the I'll start with the pole barn. Essentially, the pole barn is completed. The only thing that's left to do there are water and electric has to be run to the building, and some of the parking lot around the building has to be completed. Won't be able to get to that until springtime. The weather is still inclement, so they're not going to be able to get there. Got to wait for the snow to melt. The field house, the completion date for the interior is now scheduled for the end of March. And they're working on all the interiors. They're going to have permanent heat next week, putting in the ceilings. So, and they're doing a lot of the plumbing work right now. Exterior work is also going to be concluded in the spring because, again, the weather, we wait for the snow to melt. The site work around the school, again, is waiting. Their contractor's off-site. He's got sidewalks to do and some other stuff. That's his big stuff. At the field house, he's going to do hard surfaces and paving in July, more than likely. In the kitchen and the cafeteria here at the high school, we are looking at revising some of the equipment that's in the kitchen. So we're looking at that. We're looking at the pricing for that. But it's essentially done. They've done the motors on the coiling overhead doors behind us, and they're going to finish the columns as soon as they're done with that, and those are finished today. So I would say next week they're going to finish those columns. The motors for the basketball hoops in the gym, we're working on getting pricing for that, and so we're going to see how that goes and get that over to the board. The flooring, we're still looking at the flooring where it was peeling up, and we're having another sample put down to see if it's a better product, and we're waiting to see how that turns out. That's in the process as well. In the two-story addition, they are completed. As you know, you're inside there already. The remaining work there is punch list items.
At the dance and storage edition, it's punch list items only. In the fitness edition, the terrazzo floors have been completed today. Next week, they're going to be putting in the floor in the actual fitness room itself. They have some painting to do, and then we're going to go in there and punch it and move into punch list work. At the greenhouse, flashings were installed, through-wall flashings and step flashings, which now kind of paves the way, so they'll be able to put the actual framing in for the glass so they can complete the greenhouse. At the new office out in the front where the loop will be, the steel work and the entry work is going to start next week while the kids are out of school, so that will move forward. At the LGI, we still have, they're still working around the rest of the school. They're supposed to be starting on the outside, and they're working on the inside. That's probably the biggest rundown. Are there any questions?
And gym floors, is there any other districts that had that problem?
Yes, there have been other districts that have that problem. What it is the new VOC law, what the state has mandated, they can't use oil-based products. We have to use water-based. Water-based is not as durable as oil-based. So I believe there's at least 6 that have been mentioned that we've seen that have that problem. So they're also looking at that.
They'll take care of that?
The contractor? Yes, the contractor will take care of that. That is correct.
What's the time frame on that, right?
Probably looking at doing it in the summertime because even with the low VOC, there's still some odors, and we're using the gym floor, obviously. So we will do that in the summer.
I have a couple questions. Any idea on the ETA for the field house? You don't think it's going to be ready for spring sports? That's what you're saying.
It all weather depends on the outside. I mean, as you know, we can still get snow in April.
Right.
Inside will be done at the end of March. And then the exterior, I would love to give you an answer, but if we still have snow mid-April, contractors can't get out there. If it's real soupy, it's really when it dries out.
Is it able to be functional, the inside? I mean, can the kids and the coaches still use it if need be? Or are we going? Is it still going to be surrounded and there's no easy way in and easy way out?
Right, the paving won't be down there, so it'll still be a construction zone. So you'll have to keep the kids out. Hopefully we'll get in there in spring.
I believe what we were told at the facilities committee meeting is that they do hope to have the main field accessible, even if they have to put a special access into that, so we can still use the field itself for the sports. It's just the field house itself may not be ready.
Correct.
Do we have an update on the plumbing issues we have in the art room?
We got a price for replacing the cabinets. I don't know when they had scheduled the work, but we were going to remove the cabinets that were in question, damaged by the plumbing, and get those in there. I would say they'll probably need a few weeks to construct the new cabinets, get the plumbers back in there. So usually at least a few weeks.
So it's the plumbing work that caused the cabinetry problems, correct?
Yes.
So does that have to be all reworked and re-ventilated?
No. It's a matter of taking the sinks that are there out, getting new cabinets, putting new cabinets in, and rehooking everything back up.
Okay. So it won't be rehooked back up and this won't happen again? I mean, isn't there a reason that caused it to happen to begin with?
As far as we can tell, it looks like that the sinks were sealed to the countertop, and the water was getting in to the top mount sink, and it's getting in behind where the seal should be and getting into the base cabinet.
Okay. Do you have a change order update?
The one I had sent the last meeting is the same one still. I haven't gotten too much from the contractor since then. Just a few items. I can send that to you.
Okay. And maybe this is a good time for us to talk about this. I know, no, not.
Well, when we get to you go ahead, yeah.
We've talked a little bit about this, and I think maybe we should revisit that dollar amount, that change order dollar amount as a board. I know that we originally talked about keeping it at 50,000 and see how it would go. I have a few numbers, being the number cruncher person that I am. At this point, we have $912,000 of change orders. And of that $912,000, the board has only approved about $150,000 of that. And I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not second guessing you.
No,
I'm just not comfortable with that as a whole. I think that we should have maybe a better handle on it, and I'd like to revisit that dollar amount. Originally, I was requesting a $10,000 change order limit, and I know everybody was like, okay, that's just way too low. Well, except for Eric. I did a little bit of research, and there's 146 change orders on this sheet, and of that, only 19% of those were above 10,000. Only 6% were above 20,000. So I think that for us to not look at that and revisit that dollar amount, I would still like to go back to considering it to be 10,000
For phase 2.
for phase 2. If not, well, personally, I would start to do it ASAP. But there's a lot of explanation in here that doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I'm looking for a little bit of backup. And I know that maybe we'll talk about that. I wanted to kind of spot check some of the different contractors and the actual change orders also.
That's fine.
I'm wondering, Mike, if you could bring the updated list to our next facilities meeting on March 2nd, maybe we can go over any questions we might have.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest thing that had changed really was I'm looking at some of the things that I'm going to recommend to the district to say these ones are acceptable to our office. But obviously, the district still has to review and let me know if they're acceptable. But otherwise, I really haven't seen too many new ones from the last time I sent you that 2 weeks ago.
There's a couple of mine that are over that $20,000 limit that my personal opinion might not necessarily be change order. It probably really should be. There are more mistakes in what was delivered to us in prints and so on and so forth and come through as change orders because of a push and shove, got to get it done type thing. And so I just think that it would give us a little bit more opportunity to discuss them and have a better understanding of what's going on, because this $912,000 doesn't include all of the change orders that are on this list. Some of them are still price pending. There's a good number of them that are still price pending.
But that's the total number, correct? That's not the actual. Some of those are denied as well.
Correct. Some of them are denied.
And been voided and so on.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Correct. And I didn't count the credits in there either.
Right.
There are a couple of credits in there, but like I said, there's still a lot of them that are still price pending. I just think we should.
I agree.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike?
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, could you educate us on what you guys have to approve? Like this, what limit there is and stuff, so we understand what we're talking about? Why is that low?
Let me put it on the next agenda, because we really can't be engaging you right now after public comment. We're just trying to run the meeting the way we need to run it. I'm sorry.
I think we need to
put it on the agenda.
Okay.
And maybe make it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll try and clarify.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to budget work. Dr. Zacher?
Obviously, the budget development process is on everybody's mind.
The mic's not on.
Thank you. I said, obviously, the budget process and the challenges that we face is on everyone's minds. I will try to give you a brief updating in terms of where we are. We continue to work with our elected officials and the politicians in Albany to try to get a better idea of what the eventual state aid picture is going to look like, and it still is looking pretty bleak. We do not see any movement in terms of increasing our estimation of revenues through state aid. We all know about the gap elimination adjustment, which initially was listed at $2.8 million for our school district, but after various other adjustments are made, we're still looking at a $1.8 million to a $1.5 million gap. We also have heard about limitations on tax levy increases. In discussions at our BOCES unit, most administrators are trying to look at approximately 2% increases in tax levy to fund their district. In our district, a 1% increase in the tax levy raises approximately $107,800. So you can see that the raising of the tax levy is not a real effective way to increase the opportunity to provide for our school district. We have been going through a process which involves preliminary budget worksheet development on the part of administrators and staff. We have been reviewing those. There have been some reductions made in overall expenditures, but we realize if we're going to meet the revenue gap that we have, we're going to need to look at the possibility for reductions in programming and in staffing. In doing that, we try to involve the people that are closest to it. Obviously, if we are going to have to make cuts, we want to make cuts where they will do the least amount of damage and have the least negative effect to students and also to staff. We have asked for an initial 5% reduction in building level and department level budgets. We have been brainstorming budget reduction ideas. We have reviewed enrollment projections and possible staffing reductions, and administrators have been asked to go back and look at their budgets even further in the event that further cuts need to be made. We have considered reducing our BOCES COSER assignments for the coming school year. One of the reasons we're doing that is that there have been predictions and or threats of reductions in BOCES revenue. As many of you are aware, BOCES revenue flows as a result of expenses in the previous year. So the state is looking at reducing or eliminating the BOCES aid for those services that do not directly impact students. So we're going to take a look at those. Some of the things that we're looking at is our participation in the central business office, a shared social worker, a mobile planetarium, professional development and curriculum coordination activities, additional workshops and storing opportunities, and school improvement COSERs, among others. As I already mentioned, we are reviewing administrative staffing. We have already restructured the position of Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and Director of Special Education, which I'm asking the Board of Education to approve this evening. We have eliminated the position of Associate Principal, and we are combining the Athletic Director and, if you will, Health Physical Education Director into one of our Associate Principal positions. There is a planned reassignment of the Special Projects Administrator for the coming school year. We will continue to review all areas of the budget to determine cuts that would least impact student programs. The Budget Development Committee has met and will continue to meet to review previous budgets and to consider areas that could be reduced or eliminated. The committee will be meeting again next week.
I just wanted to give an update. I forgot, Lisa Long, you had asked for some numbers for legal fees, and I forgot to do that during public comment section, so here we go. Okay. In 07-08, our attorney's fees for that year were $71,000. In 08-09, they were $96,656. In 09 and 010, they were $111,736. This year, paid to date, our legal fees have been $70,630, and these legal fees, though, don't just include our, percentages here. Was it 30, 20, about 50. Yeah, it was about 15%. 15% of that, those fees, when we're looking at them, were related to 3028. The rest are related to the litigation which we have been defending, and also it includes FOIL requests, which are reviewed by our attorney, and other legal things, legal issues related to the capital project. Okay, moving on, and more topics for discussion. We're going to talk about the administrative fees for the fuel disbursements to municipalities.
report back to the Board of Education is as a result of my meeting with Mr. Platt and with Mr. Milton. And if the Board of Education wishes more clarification or wants to discuss that at this time, it would be appropriate to do so.
Anybody?
I just am looking for a couple of things. This letter from Doug Milton, is he representing all of the municipalities involved here? I mean, obviously, I'm Jordan-Elbridge. I guess I'm looking for clarification. I do see that he had copied Mayor Platt and Mayor Dorr and Ken Bush, but I'm not sure if he is speaking on behalf of them. So I don't know if it's just the volunteer fire department that has an issue with the 5%, or is it all of the municipalities that it affects in general? That was my first question. My second question is, and Pauline, you can answer this one. In general, I mean, do we have some kind of idea of what kind of actual, I know it's 5%, but what's the dollar amount we're talking about here?
I can tell you what they spent last year. The fire department last year spent roughly $9,000 in gasoline costs. The village spent roughly $13,000 last year.
So altogether, we're talking about $24,000.
Yeah.
And it's a 5% administrative fee. So we're talking about $1,200. But I don't know if I want to make sure I understand that we give back on the offset for that too, correct? So it's more like a barter situation. We get from them housing of salt, but we also take care of all of their vehicles, the police vehicles and so on.
They take care of the bus garage does take care of the police vehicles, and our ground staff does go over and take care of the athletic fields over at the town park.
Okay. And we don't charge them for any of the costs when it comes to their use of the building,
we send them
use of
over
the
there.
building.
Right.
And that's approximately how much a year that we cover cost-wise?
Currently, to date, we have $19,000 in fee and salaries that are associated with having the buildings open all days on weekends.
Okay. So at this point, it's $1,200 is really the amount that we're looking for, right? That they're upset with.
Yes.
Okay.
Roughly, depending on what their usage would be this year.
Okay. I just was looking for clarification.
Any further discussion? Thanks for that clarification, Tony. Okay. All right. And then moving on to the date to present the Eagle Awards. I know we were doing that quarterly. We got out of that. Just wanted to know how you all wanted to go forward with that. We're in the middle of the market period, right? How would you guys like to do the Eagle Awards presentation? How would you like to do that going forward?
Are we just doing them quarterly now?
We used to do them quarterly, but we didn't this
We haven't
fall.
done them in a while.
You want to wait till the end of the year to start doing them? Would that be too many? Probably too many.
Can we wrap up current sports now and current activities now and then kick in again with spring sports and finish up at the end of the year maybe? Yeah.
Okay, I can try and do that. All right, moving on to review of policy 5511. Any concerns on that or comments?
Just for the audience's information, the revised policy of number 1511 was discussed at our last meeting. The Board of Education made some recommendations for changes. We have tried to incorporate those changes into the reading that they have tonight, and each board member received a copy of that proposed policy earlier. And if there are no other questions, then the second reading can occur this evening. If not, we may need to go back and review
The
again.
first, that's not it.
It's 55.
My error, I apologize. I got my 11s mixed up.
5511 is the one that,
That needs to be explained to the public.
yes. Explain what that's. Okay, just for the public's knowledge, the review of policy 5511, this is a new policy required by recently enacted legislation pertaining to GASB 54. Although the new procedure is required by law, we need a policy in place to cover the new requirement. So that's essentially GASB 54 partially deals with how governments will report fund balance in the future, and then they give a brief description on the new regulations. Okay. Any questions from the board or any comments? All right, moving on to business matters. Could I have a motion to approve the second reading of revised policy 1511, please? Penny and Erica. Any discussion?
I'm hoping at some point in the future. I mean, I understand the need for it right now currently, but I know that there are many of us on the board that don't really want it to be that way. It's more of a necessity than a want right now, and I'd like to maybe schedule a time to revisit the review of this shorter time period than the annual scenario. I mean, I'm even thinking maybe 60 days from now, we can see where the temperament is and maybe review it. There are many of us on the board, most of us on the board, who really don't want this. And so I guess that's what I would like to do.
No. What are you talking about?
That I would like to revisit it.
Okay, we'll revisit this in 60 days. Okay.
The 1511 policy is the policy on public agenda items and the commentary for public agenda items.
All right, any further discussion?
No,
We're voting on it. We can revisit in 60 days or 30 days.
I'll put it in my calendar to follow up on.
Okay, sounds good. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. We're going to remove the treasurer's report from this agenda, so strike that, please. Could I have and striking the budget transfers too? Yep, we need additional information for that. Could I have a motion for the approval of reading of policy 5511? Jeannie and Erica, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Could I have a motion for the security officers, please?
So moved.
Connie? Second? Jeannie? Excuse me? You'll explain.
What happened to the respectful civility?
Okay, I got it. After our initial meeting with the use of security, Dr. Zachary was informed by the Sheriff's Office that 2 officers were required and that the rate is $35 an hour. Previously, we were told that the rate was $30 per hour and it was not indicated that 2 officers were required. The rate is based on an overtime rate, which we were told would be $42 to $43 per hour. It's our hope, the board's hope, that we can regain proper behavior at our meetings and so that we can discontinue the use of the sheriff's. Thank you.
We hope to regain control of our...
Excuse me, you're out of order.
I apologize.
Can I have any further discussion?
This is another one I'd like to revisit. Maybe 60
Sure.
I think in a shorter time, maybe.
30 days?
30 days.
Okay.
That's 2 weeks.
2 meetings.
His answer just will require, if it's at
And-
stake.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Moving on to the consent agenda. Could I have a motion? Could I have a motion, please? So moved. Tommy? Erica, second. Just explain a little bit here on just again to reiterate, Dr. Zachary's recommending a change in Sue Gordon's title. Her new title will be Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, CPSE and CMSE chairperson. Ms. Gordon will assume the responsibilities for oversight of special education. However, this will drastically limit her abilities, or not her abilities, her activities in instructional improvement, curriculum development, and professional development. Could I have
I just wanted to note and let the audience know that Michelle Gardner's leaving. Michelle Gardner's done some great work for us down at the middle school. She's been a wonderful teacher, and really, really sad to see her go. I hope you wish her well if you know her personally.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah.
On item 18, when we were discussing it earlier, it was mentioned that it would probably be a maximum of approximately 15 hours. Can we not to exceed? Can we put some type of a limit on that, please?
Sure. Without further board approval, or just not to exceed? Okay, so number 18 will be read as $43.24 per hour, not to exceed 15 hours without board approval. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion is carried. Next, moving on to superintendent's comments. We have a need for executive session this evening. May I please have a motion to go into executive session for purposes of discussion of matters leading to the appointment or employment of a particular person or persons, and matters leading to the appointment of the superintendent of schools, and to discuss collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 regarding number 1, JETA, the Jordan-Elbridge Teachers Association, and number 2, the administrators' negotiation. And also to discuss a matter covered by FERPA and to consult with a matter of FERPA and to consult with matter covered by FERPA and also to consult with counsel regarding legal matters. Okay. Okay. Could I, all those in favor? One motion, sorry.
Does that include?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I just want to make sure it's on the record.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Could I have a motion, please? Penny? Erica? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion is carried. Meeting adjourned to executive session at 8:15. Thank you.